Imagine this. The sun is shining brightly, the pool is sparkling like diamonds, and everything screams perfect summer day. It's the kind of day where you just relax, sip on a cold drink, and let time pass by without a care in the world. That's exactly the vibe I was expecting when I planned a laid-back afternoon with my stepson Dylan. We had big plans, floating on pool rafts, playing music, and seeing who could do the most outrageous cannonball. But as life often does, things didn't quite go as I had imagined. Let me set the scene. Dylan, who's 20 and never misses a chance to show off his diving skills, was excited for the day. He'd been talking about this pool day for weeks. As for me, I'm Mia, your friendly narrator, just looking to enjoy the rare combination of nice weather and good vibes. The day started off perfectly. We splashed around, had a diving contest, which he totally won, but don't tell him I said that, and enjoyed the kind of laughter that makes summer feel magical. Even my husband, James, came out a few times to snap funny pictures from the patio. Pure bliss, right? But here's the thing about bliss. It can lull you into a false sense of security. Just as Dylan was gearing up to perform his ultimate backflip off the diving board, things took a turn. One moment, he was soaring through the air like some kind of Olympic hopeful, and the next, well, let's just say it didn't go as planned. There was a thud followed by a splash. Way too big for just one person. I knew something was off when I saw Dylan surface, wide-eyed and coughing. That's when I noticed, well, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just say our relaxing day took a wild, unexpected twist. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happened next. Stick around because there's more to this story than just a simple poolside mishap. So there's Dylan gasping for air, his hair stuck to his face and his eyes wide. "Are you okay?" I shout, already halfway across the pool. He waves me off with one hand while coughing. "Yeah, he sputters, pausing mid-sentence. His face shifts from playful embarrassment to what I can only describe as genuine concern. "What?" I ask, treading water in front of him. He points toward the edge of the pool. I follow his gaze, expecting to see, I don't know, maybe a broken pool noodle or one of his flip-flops floating away, but nope. That would have been too ordinary. Instead, there's this strange shimmer just beneath the water near the deep end. At first, I think it's just sunlight reflecting off the tiles, but Dylan's expression tells me it's something else. "What is that?" I ask, squinting. "No clue," he says, his voice quieter than usual. "But I felt something when I landed." "You mean like the bottom of the pool?" "No," he insists, shaking his head. "It was soft. Kind of rubbery, I guess." Now my brain is racing. Rubber in the pool? My first thought is that maybe part of the pool liner came loose, though that doesn't really explain the shimmer. James, who had gone inside to grab another drink, strolls back out, sunglasses perched on his nose. "Everything cool?" he asks, grinning like he's caught us plotting something. Dylan and I exchange a look. "Yeah, totally fine," I lie, trying to keep things light. "No need to freak anyone out just yet." "Dylan just perfected the world's messiest backflip," I add with a laugh. James waves casually and heads back to the patio. Meanwhile, Dylan and I drift closer to the shimmering spot. "You want to check it out?" Dylan asks, a mischievous glint returning to his eyes. Classic Dylan. Give him a weird situation, and he's all in. "Sure, but maybe not right this second," I hedge. "Let's keep it chill for a bit." He nods, though I can tell he's itching to dive back down. I make a mental note to Google weird pool phenomena later, since I definitely don't have the answers. But then, things take an even stranger turn. We're floating there, chatting about random things, when suddenly the water ripples. Not from a breeze or us moving around, but from some unnatural shift that sends a chill down my spine. "Did you feel that?" I whisper. Dylan nods, his playful grin gone. "Yeah, and I think it's moving." Before I can even process that, something brushes against my leg. I freeze. Dylan's eyes widen. "Did you—" "Yep," I say, my heart racing. Neither of us moves, too stunned to blink. What the heck did we just get ourselves into? I don't care how old you are, something brushing against your leg in the water is a straight-up horror movie moment. Dylan and I lock eyes, frozen in the pool, our imaginations clearly running wild. Logically, I know it's probably just a stray leaf or some weird current caused by the pool pump, but my instincts, they're waving red flags like I've just entered shark-infested waters. Okay, now I'm getting out, I announce, inching toward the edge. Wait, Dylan says, his voice low but steady. What if it's like a turtle or something? A turtle in the pool? I snort, trying to downplay the adrenaline surging through me. I don't know, he shrugs, grinning despite the tension. Could be a mutant one. You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vibes. Classic Dylan, cracking jokes even when things are getting weird. But, as much as I want to laugh, something about the shimmer beneath the water keeps nagging at me. We're about 3 feet from the pool wall when Dylan stops swimming. Wait, Mia, he says seriously. What now? I think it's still there, he mutters, glancing down at the water. I risk a glance too, and my breath catches in my throat. The shimmer near the deep end looks bigger now. It's not just light dancing across the water, it has shape. You seeing what I'm seeing? I whisper. Yep, and I'm pretty sure pool tiles don't do that. Before I can respond, James's voice breaks through the tension. Hey, you two coming out or moving in permanently? He's standing by the patio, sipping his drink like he's watching a comedy show. I force a smile and wave back. Be right there. Dylan, though, has a serious look on his face. We can't just leave it. I sigh. It's probably nothing, Dill. Maybe just a trick of the water or something with the pool pump. You really believe that? He challenges. Nope, not even a little, I admit. But here's the thing about being an adult. You get really good at pretending you're not freaked out, even when every cell in your body is screaming, get out of here. Tell you what, I offer, we'll Google it, maybe call a pool guy if it's still acting weird tomorrow. Dylan gives me a skeptical look, but finally nods. Fine, but if it starts glowing green, I'm calling NASA. We climb out of the pool, dripping wet and on edge. As I grab towels from the rack, I catch Dylan glancing back at the water. You okay? I ask. Yeah, I don't know, Mia. It felt alive. I freeze at that word. Alive. Pools are supposed to be about chlorine and relaxation, not life forms. But before I can dwell on it, James calls us over to the patio. Come on, burgers are ready. Reluctantly, we head toward him, but I can't shake the feeling that something is waiting for us back in that pool, and I have a sinking suspicion this isn't over. The burgers smell amazing, and for a while it was easy to let the weirdness of the pool slip into the background. James was in his element, flipping patties and cracking dad jokes that made Dylan roll his eyes in mock agony. But even as I laughed along, something gnawed at the back of my mind. Dylan's words echoed in my head. It felt alive. I kept sneaking glances back at the pool, half expecting to see that strange shimmer creeping toward the edge. But everything looked normal. Or as normal as a pool can look after what we just experienced. Hey, you okay? James asked, handing me a plate piled high with food. Yeah, I lied. Just a little distracted, probably still thinking about getting beaten in that cannonball contest. Dylan teased. You wish, kid, I smirked, but the banter didn't ease the unease that clung to me like wet pool water. And apparently I wasn't the only one who couldn't let it go. After dinner, while James went inside to watch the game, Dylan pulled me aside. We should check it out again, he said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. Seriously? Come on, Mia, don't you want to know what that was? Nope, not even a little, I said flatly. But Dylan had that determined look in his eye, the one that always meant trouble. What if it's like a sinkhole forming or something dangerous? He pressed. We can't just ignore it. I sighed, knowing he wouldn't let it go. Fine, but we're being careful, got it? Scout's honor, he said, grinning like he'd just won a prize. The sun had dipped low by the time we made our way back to the pool, casting long shadows across the yard. The water looked darker now, almost ominous under the fading light. See anything? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Dylan shook his head. Not yet. We stood there for a moment, the air thick with tension. Then, without warning, Dylan dove in. Dylan! I hissed, panicking as he disappeared beneath the surface. Seconds ticked by, each one stretching longer than the last. My heart raced, pounding in my ears. What was he thinking? Finally he surfaced, gasping for air. There's something down there, he said between breaths. My stomach flipped. What do you mean, something? I don't know, he said, his voice shaky. But it's big. I knelt by the edge, my pulse racing. Did it move? I asked. He nodded grimly. Yeah, and I think it knows we're here. The weight of his words hit me like a ton of bricks. I scanned the water, every nerve in my body on high alert. The pool was still, but the feeling that we weren't alone was undeniable. Get out, I urged. Now! Dylan started swimming toward me, but halfway there the water rippled, no, churned like something massive was stirring beneath the surface. Dylan, hurry! I shouted, panic rising in my throat. But before he could reach me, a deep, unnatural hum filled the air, vibrating through the water and into my bones. I gripped the edge of the pool, heart racing, as the shimmering mass beneath the surface began to rise. The hum deepened, rattling the pool deck and making my teeth vibrate. Dylan's strokes became frantic as he powered toward the edge, but the water fought against him, swirling like it had a mind of its own. Come on, Dylan, I screamed, reaching out my hand. He lunged forward, his fingers just brushing mine, but I grabbed his arm and hauled him onto the deck. We tumbled backward, gasping for air. You okay? I managed between breaths. Yeah, he panted, wide-eyed and dripping wet. But what was that? I have no idea, I admitted, my voice shaky. But it's not normal. We scrambled to our feet, instinctively backing away from the pool. The water had gone eerily still. The unnatural hum faded into silence. For a second, it almost felt like we'd imagined the whole thing. And then it happened. A blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the pool, forcing us to shield our eyes. When the light faded, the water rippled outward in perfect circles. The water shimmered with an unnatural glow that made my skin crawl. That's new, Dylan muttered, his voice full of disbelief. Before I could respond, the ground beneath us trembled. My heart raced as cracks spread across the concrete deck, small chunks breaking off and falling into the pool. We need to get James, I shouted, but just as we turned to head toward the house, we heard a thud. The unmistakable sound of the sliding glass door slamming shut. Dylan froze. Did he just lock us out? No way, I said, my voice trembling. James wouldn't do that. But when we reached the patio, my stomach sank. The door was locked tight, and through the glass, James stood motionless, staring straight ahead with an unnervingly blank expression. James, I banged on the door. Open up! But he didn't move. Dylan's face went pale. What's wrong with him? I don't know, I whispered, dread creeping into my chest. We both jumped as the hum returned, louder this time, vibrating through the ground. The pool's glow grew stronger, casting bizarre shadows across the yard. This is bad, Dylan said grimly. Really bad. No kidding, I muttered. We need to figure out what's happening and fast. Dylan scanned the yard, his jaw clenched. There's got to be something connecting all this, the pool, the weird hum, James acting strange. I racked my brain, trying to make sense of the madness. Then I remembered something James had said earlier, right before dinner. He'd mentioned casually, I had the filter system serviced this morning. The guy said everything looked fine, but I swear the pool's been acting weird ever since. Dylan, I said urgently, what if they did something to the pool? Messed with the system somehow? Like what? Cursed it, he joked weakly. I shot him a look. Now's probably not the time to rule anything out. The hum deepened again, and this time the shimmering mass in the water lurched upward, sending waves crashing over the edge. We need answers now, Dylan said, his voice steely. As we braced ourselves for whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. The water surged violently, sending waves splashing across the deck. Dylan and I stumbled backward, soaked to the bone, as the glow intensified, bathing the entire yard in an eerie, unnatural light. The hum grew deafening, like the pulse of some ancient engine buried deep beneath the earth. Whatever's coming out of that pool, I don't want to meet it, I yelled over the chaos. Agreed, Dylan shouted back. But running wasn't an option. The ground shook so violently that it was impossible to stay upright. Cracks splintered across the concrete, and the air felt thick, like the static before a lightning strike. Then, with a final surge, the water exploded. We hit the deck, shielding our faces as spray rained down around us. When I dared to look up, my jaw dropped. Hovering above the pool was a mass of shimmering energy, twisting and writhing like it couldn't decide what shape to take. It crackled with electricity, tendrils of light snapping through the air, and at its core, something dark and pulsing, maybe a heart or a portal to somewhere we definitely didn't want to go. "What the heck?" Dylan breathed, his eyes wide. I had no words. None. The mass pulsed again, sending shockwaves through the yard. James stood frozen behind the glass door, motionless, his expression disturbingly blank. "We have to stop this," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "How?" Dylan asked, panic creeping into his tone. "What do you do when your pool turns into a sci-fi nightmare?" I thought fast. The filter system, whatever had been done to it this morning, was the key. "The filter controls!" I shouted. "If we shut it down, maybe we can stop whatever this is." Dylan didn't hesitate. "On it!" We sprinted toward the control panel on the side of the house, dodging cracks and bursts of energy from the pulsing mass. Dylan yanked open the metal cover, revealing a mess of dials and switches. "Which one?" he asked frantically. "All of them!" I yelled. He slammed every switch down, the system groaning in protest. The hum wavered, and the glow flickered like a dying light bulb. "It's working?" I shouted. But just as hope surged in my chest, the mass let out a piercing shriek. Its tendrils flailed wildly. One lashed out, striking the ground inches from us. "Duck!" Dylan shouted, tackling me to the ground as another tendril whipped overhead. The glow flickered again, then imploded inward with a deafening whoosh. For a moment, everything went still. We lay there breathing hard, drenched and shaken. "Did we do it?" Dylan asked, his voice hoarse. I sat up, scanning the pool. The water was calm, crystal clear, as if nothing had happened. The cracks in the deck were gone. Even James stood blinking at us through the glass, looking confused but normal. "Yeah," I said, "I think we—" But my words caught in my throat because there at the edge of the pool was a single shimmering tendril, slowly curling back into the water. Dylan followed my gaze, his expression grim. "So not over." I shook my head, heart racing. Not even close. The shimmering tendril vanished beneath the water with one last ripple, leaving the pool eerily calm. Dylan and I stood there, drenched, breathless, and completely dumbfounded. For a moment, all we could do was stare, waiting for, well, something to happen. But nothing did. No hum, no glow, no cracks splitting the ground. Just silence. "You think it's really over?" Dylan asked hesitantly. I took a shaky breath, scanning the now peaceful water. "I hope so." Behind us, the sliding glass door creaked open. James stepped outside, rubbing the back of his neck like he'd just woken up from a nap. "What's going on out here?" he asked, frowning at the mess around us. "Why is the deck all wet?" Dylan and I exchanged a glance. How on earth were we supposed to explain this? "Oh, nothing much," I said. "Just a little interdimensional pool crisis, no biggie." We had a bit of an issue with the pool pump," I said, opting for a half-truth. James raised an eyebrow. "Looks like you had a water park explosion," he joked. "You sure everything's okay?" "Yeah," Dylan chimed in quickly. "We shut it down. All good now." James gave us a skeptical look, but shrugged. "Well, if you say so, I'm going to go get some towels." As he headed back inside, Dylan let out a long breath. "That was intense." "Tell me about it," I agreed. "But hey, we survived." "Barely," he muttered. We stood there for a moment, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. The pool shimmered faintly in the fading light, but it looked normal now. No glowing, no tendrils, no sci-fi nightmare vibes. "You think it'll come back?" Dylan asked quietly. I considered the question carefully. "Honestly, I don't know. But if it does, we'll handle it." He grinned. "You mean I'll handle it, right? I'm the one who did all the heavy lifting." "Uh-huh," I teased. "Superhero, you totally saved the day." As strange and terrifying as the whole experience had been, I couldn't help but feel a weird sense of triumph. We'd faced something wild, unpredictable, and downright impossible, and we'd made it through together. Later that night, after James had gone to bed, Dylan and I sat by the pool with a couple of sodas watching the stars. "So, pool day didn't exactly go as planned," he said with a chuckle. I laughed. "Yeah, understatement of the year." Think we'll ever tell Dad the truth? I shook my head. Nah, some things are better left as mysteries. Dylan nodded thoughtfully. Good call. As the night settled around us, the pool lay quiet and still, just as it should be. Whatever had happened and whatever that thing was, we knew one thing for sure. We'd never look at this pool the same way again. Thanks for sticking with us through this wild ride, I said. Let us know in the comments what you thought, and if you're into these kinds of stories, what would you like to hear next? Got a spooky tale of your own? Drop it below and who knows, we might just share it in a future video. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.